Hello, everyone. How are you this evening? I have a few more notes to share with you from the Patriot Nurse channel. She was giving an example. Let's say that your city has 1 million people. Over the course of 2, 3, or 4 months, let's say 10% are infected with this virus. That's 100,000, okay? Now let's say that 80% of them can manage those symptoms at home. There's still 20,000 people that will require medical care. Okay, that's 20%. Okay. She's saying that they don't have enough respirators. She said her large hospitals, like in the metro area, like she's in a pretty good sized place, I guess, but they have 200 respirators, you guys. If that 10% or 20% needs a respirator, they're not going to get it. And she said 5%, if 5% overall would be critical, that's 5,000, okay? 5,000 in critical care, 5,000, and they have 200 respirators. She said that the hospitals are over. She said on any given day before this virus even came out, the ER where she worked was always full, always full. So can you imagine now? It just really puts it in perspective. Out of 1 million people, if there's 1 million people, 10% infected, that's 100,000 people. Say 80% of them can manage the symptoms at home, so that's good. But there's still 20,000 people that will require medical care, okay? And then 5%, which has been on par, overall would be critical, and that's 5,000 in the ICU. Not enough respirators. Not enough ventilators. And she said the thing is, too, if this is affecting a lot of older people, well, people are living longer these days, but they're living sicker longer, okay? So, yes, we're living longer. The elderly are living longer, but they're sick. They have underlying things going on with them, so they live sicker longer. All right, now, she was talking about the lockdown. She thinks it's an amazing idea, and I do too, and here's why. Here's one reason why. She said, especially if you're a freedom-minded person, you don't want to give up your liberty for the illusion of temporary security. Okay, listen to me closely, guys. Don't give up your freedom for the illusion of temporary security. Now, if they didn't do a mandatory lockdown, a mandatory, say, stay at home, self-isolate. If we don't do our part and be proactive in this, then the government would love more than anything to come in and step on our necks and do it for us. But then your freedom's gone. Please hear what I'm saying. So the leadership, what can they offer us right now? There's not enough testing. All they can do is to tell people to stay home and isolate, which we should be doing anyway. If we ignore these suggestions, so to speak, then they're going to have to come in, and then we won't have a right to say anything. They'll have a right to come in and say, you guys aren't stopping the virus. It's still peaking. We're going to have to make it mandatory, and then it'll be like in China, okay? So that's what their choices are. And in China, that's what they did. And we don't have enough people right now to enforce a mandatory lockdown, thank God. China did, okay? China did. That's why they had a mandatory lockdown. They have people to enforce that. We in the United States don't have enough people right now to enforce it. That's why when they said that 6 states or 7 now or 8, I don't know how many now, but 6, Iowa being one of them, were sending in, they were sending in the guards, National Guards, I'm thinking, oh gosh, please don't let it be that they're going to enforce something upon us. I hope it's really just to disperse medicine and help disinfect. But guys, this is something to think about. I'm not trying to panic anybody, but I'm trying to keep us informed. All right. Now, yes, we should have food in our pantry for 2 to 3 weeks, probably a month. A month to be, I don't know. I think she said even 3 months would be perfect. But you know what? It's too late now because there's not enough stuff on the shelves, I don't believe. And this is just being extra cautious. And she said, one good thing is we're entering the growing season. If you have a garden, or if you have a big, nice landscaped yard, or any big land, or any land, now would be a good time to plant an aggressive garden. Aggressively sized garden. There's less exposure to they're better for less exposure to chemicals and whatever. But she said that on workable ground, if you do it in workable ground, try to get a big, good garden going. Because she said the availability of the stuff you plant will be low and the quality will be low. Okay? The quality and availability will be low. Okay. Now, let's see what else. The fever management. She says, when you take a bunch of ibuprofen, it will deplete your liver and the inflammation properties will go up. Okay. I might be saying this wrong. You can feel free to correct me, but I'm on a roll here. All right. Fevers support sweating. It's good to sweat. It's good to get that out. This is what God and made our bodies to do. But of course, if you get high enough fever, you have to take something to lower that fever. I get that. But don't take the meds too soon, she said. Okay? This is not my advice. This is just advice I've heard from this nurse, Patriot nurse. And she also says she's not responsible. This is just her advice. Okay. Let's see. I'm sorry, my notes are all over the place. I took some in the car when I was taking my daughter to work, and I took some at home. Now, she said the government would like to, some of them, not all, some government would like to capitalize on this and would love to put us on a lockdown. So their only choice right now is to trust us to have personal responsibility. And with freedom, the price of freedom is principal responsibility. If we want our freedom to stay, we have to do what they say. Don't give the government fuel to put us in a mandatory lockdown and lose our freedom, you guys. Stay home as best as possible. All right? Limit your contact with people to decrease the spread. If I have not been going to work. I am not going to work. For one, I had a mild cold. I might still have a little bit of mild cold. I'm not going to even do it, but I'm not going to spread it. Or I don't want to get it. Our schools aren't closed here yet, which really is a bad idea. We need to close our schools because she was saying that children with the asymptomatic vectors walking around are the children. They're capable to be normal at school. You don't know they just have a little runny nose and a little fever. Nobody knows sometimes. It's like when a baby's teething, you don't worry about that. It's like, but they have subclinical symptoms. They don't need a doctor, but they're carrying this virus. So if you can keep your kids home and homeschool them, that would be great. And please don't think I'm telling you, I'm just giving you all these ideas that she said. Closed schools are important. I wish they would close our schools. They've closed down my city, but it's in a state of emergency, but the schools are still going. It makes no sense to me. Can you imagine the petri dish at schools, that is? But anyway, guys, the number one vector of the asymptomatic symptoms is the children. You should not, like large groups in church. She suggests that you stop the large groups in church. Maybe have small groups, like meeting in a house. That way it's more buddy system, more support, and you're not in contact with so many people. She suggests if you have a fever or anyone in your family, if I have a fever, let's say you have a family of 5, and you're all living in your house. If you have a fever, then all 5 of those people should stay home for at least a week. Okay? Now, yes, this sounds impossible, but like she said, personal responsibility is a price of freedom. Okay? Do you want to keep your freedom? You really don't want the government stepping in and doing what they want to do, guys, because they're going to close everything down, mandatorize it, and we might have ourselves some issues here. Store up your cleaning supplies and food. I'm sure you've all done that. You've seen that the shelves are bare. You can't find even a thermometer. I didn't have a thermometer. I called everywhere, went everywhere, looked everywhere. They're gone. There's no more thermometers to read your temperature. Luckily, I found one up in the medicine cabinet. I thought we lost it. Thank you, Jesus. Now, the next few weeks, she said, a lot of people will do good for a couple of weeks in isolation. If you self-isolate yourself, you show responsibility and you do this, people get stir crazy. And then she said, this sounds crazy, but with sports, all of the sports being closed down, some people use sports as like a drug. It's a form of relaxation. It's like a medicine to them. It helps them calm. And without that, then she said, it's been fact that the stir craziness and all that kind of stuff, then criminal activity increases. So she said, be ready to defend your family. You guys all know that when things get bad, people go crazy. They will steal. You've seen how people loot stores and steal. You guys, I believe it's coming if we don't show responsibility and be proactive on this. Don't sit back and wait for what your government says to do and do. Do this, what they're saying to do now, okay? Please. I cannot stress this enough. She said she's a teacher also of nursing, and she tells her students there's 3 things that you have to watch out for before things start to get bad. Number 1 is when your health care, the hospitals get degraded, compromised, which they are. Households start getting limited with supplies, which they are, and medical is limited, which it is. So you guys, this is serious. All right. She says, there's a lot of challenges here. You want to get a lot of rest. She said that's one of the good things about being in isolation is, you get your rest, because that gets your immunity. That's when your cells start to heal. Get that rest. Now get this, 1 to 2 hours before bed, turn off the TV, turn off the screens, because it messes up your circadian rhythm, which even the little blue lights will mess up, and that messes with your immunity and your really good sleep. Okay? An hour or 2 before bed, turn off your phones, turn off your TVs, because that way it will help you to get into that healing and boosting, getting your immunity where it should be, helping out. Lots of challenges and personal responsibility, you guys. You got to prioritize everything first for your family. Focus on your family and eternity. You might have to cut back on some things if you stay home from work, I know you're like, oh, it's easy for you to say. I agree. But like she said, it's personal freedom, personal responsibility equals your freedom. If you didn't see what happened in China, I'm trying to choose my words wisely here. You don't want the government to come in and do mandatory, guys. Believe me, this martial law or whatever people are talking about is serious. I'm not saying it's going to happen. It just seems to set things up for it easily. It would be easy for them to do it if they wanted to. Focus on your family. If you have to go out and you're sick, then wear your mask and gloves, okay? You have to care for people because, like I said the other day, the number 1 commandment is to love others as yourself. You have to care for the elderly. We have to be responsible. Wash your hands. Don't touch your face if at all possible. Yeah, you're going to touch your face by accident, but try not. Try not. Try to go out as little as possible. Even my sister who works at a bank, they're now getting computers for their workers to go home and work. The banks, you guys. It's things are closing down left and right. My city, the coronavirus is spreading, and it's spreading to our food places, our Subway, our Panera Bread. And yeah, they clean them, wash them down, clean them up, and reopen them. I'm not going there. I'm not eating out. I don't even eat out. My family is not eating out. All right, guys. So that's about it. But remember, I'm gonna say this one more time. Your personal freedom is your freedom. Your personal freedom is you've got to take personal responsibility and be proactive in this. It's not about money right now, guys. What it's about is, if you can, stay home, keep your kids home. If you can. Now, I'm pretty sure I can't imagine that our schools won't be closing. I just can't believe they haven't yet. My stepson in California, they just closed his school down for the year. So, take care. And then also, I know that we're going to be eating packaged foods and all this stuff, but remember that all that processed, packaged things that you get in the vending machine, everything, there's no healthy stuff in it. In fact, it causes inflammation in your body. Now, I'm not saying, I have stuff here too. I've got packaged goods, and when you're hungry and you got to eat what you got to eat. I'm not saying, oh, just get all, the things that are really, really good, like vegetables and stuff that you have to buy, that will perish. And to tell you the truth, I tried to get frozen fruit and vegetables today. Gone. Guys, we have an element of personal responsibility. That's overall I want to say. And you might want to listen to this a few times. I will keep you posted. God bless you guys. And I'm praying for every one of you. Good night.